Russia's invasion of Ukraine has evolved into a prolonged war that will weigh heavily on the Russian economy. Russia is under unprecedented economic pressure after the invasion, as the world has been transfixed due to the Ukraine's fight for survival. Many are aware that President Vladimir Putin's nation has been subjected to isolation more abruptly and totally than that encountered by any major power in recent history. Many in the West feel exculpated, even happy that the financial might of the United States, Europe, and other allies are being fully used against the Russian President Vladimir Putin and his allies after years of half measures and looking the other way. Currently, the best possible consequence that the Russian President Putin could hope for would be a Pyrrhic victory, one where the overwhelming toll on the victory is tantamount to a setback. Investors are tossing out Russian assets as fast as they can. So far, this year the ruble has lost 1/3 of its value. As the war drags on, most people have started wondering what will become of the Russian economy. Is Putin in any condition to keep up and maybe win the war against Ukraine? Stay till the end to find out, as we'll use proper facts and figures to determine whether and for how long the Russian economy is capable of holding a war against the world. I cover all things business and finance, so if you enjoy them, consider subscribing or liking the video. I spend a lot of time researching this content, and only a small percentage of my viewers are subscribed. It's free, and you can unsubscribe at any time. After Russian President Vladimir Putin annexed Crimea in 2014, the United States and its group of supporters employed a raft of significantly mild sanctions on Russia. These measures sent the ruble tumbling and dented Russian GDP growth. But the Kremlin's propagandists toned down the damage, and over time, the economy stabilized. Yet again, the dream of rebuilding the Russian Empire became the main reason for Putin to attack Ukraine. He has always settled on the lie that Ukraine isn't a real nation, and Ukrainians aren't real people, and that the inhabitants yearn for Moscow's rule. According to the IMF, the gross domestic product, GDP, of Russia amounted to $1.648 billion in 2021. This is about the same size as the collective GDP of Belgium, $582 billion, and the Netherlands, $1.008 billion. In the same year, Russia's GDP compares to barely 10% of the EU's GDP. In other words, Russia is an economic dwarf in Europe. So most people might ask themselves, can Russia win an intense war against a country that is resisting tooth and nail? Normally, a country this size being invaded by another one much larger should have been seized totally much longer ago. But this doesn't seem to be the case here. To win this sort of war, Russia will have to drastically expand its military spending. Russia today spends about $62 billion, about 4% of its GDP, on the military. That's 8% of US military spending. This military budget will not be adequate to continue waging an immense and long-winded war. More military spending will have to be made by the Kremlin, but military spending is also economically wasteful. Western countries have created another big obstacle to Putin's so-called dream. An unprecedented global alliance of democracies has inflicted crushing sanctions on Vladimir Putin's regime as punishment for its invasion of Ukraine. Many Russians have shrugged to ascertain that their economy could withstand any level of Western sanctions. Putin's followers believe that Russia isn't some tin pot tyranny like Cuba or North Korea. It is a major power whose population was, until recently, deeply affiliated to its larger global environment, and Russia is suffering a degree of international ostracism that typically happens only when a country is at war with the world. The ructions in Russia's markets have taken many by surprise. For years, President Vladimir Putin had, seemingly successfully, built up Russia's economic defenses such that it would easily be able to resist whatever Western governments threw at it. Timothy Ash of Blue Bay Asset Management has labeled it as the Fortress Russia strategy. Yet, Capital Economics, a consultancy, expects Russian inflation to hit 15% before long, with GDP falling by 5% this year. Paul de Grauwe insists that Russia simply lacks the economic resources to maintain a prolonged dispute of this kind, and that the world should be deeply concerned about the potential for Vladimir Putin to turn to unconventional means as an alternative. But who is to tell that to Putin? Foreseeably, Russia is being evicted from the networks that bind the global economy as companies from the United States, Europe, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and elsewhere cut off exports and withdrew their assets and staff. The extraordinary speed, scale, and scope of the Allied response to the Russian assault exemplify the centrality of the economic and financial battlefront in modern warfare. To monopolize this new arena, the Allies should organize some permanent mechanisms to maximize coordination during the current crisis, but also in future ones. Russia has been hit with penalizing economic, trade, and financial sanctions. It is careering towards debt default as a rapid technological decoupling is also underway. Without ongoing access to modern technology and foreign expertise, Russia's planes will stop flying, its military hardware will impair, and even its ability to extract hydrocarbons and grow food will be imperiled. Tanks and fighters will not allow one extra ruble of production in the future. They will, however, crowd out productive involvement. The economically small country that Russia is today will therefore become even smaller in the future. Still, the challenges against Russia don't end here. The majority of foreign firms are fleeing the country, while Russian teams are excluded from international competitions in soccer and other sports. Some might not believe that even the International Cat Federation has barred Russian felines from its events. The country is withstanding an economic crisis worse than anything since the collapse of the Soviet Union. Some experts and critics are not feeling triumphant. Instead, they are worried. They fear that these sanctions will have collateral damage in Russia and beyond, potentially even hurting the very countries that impose them. Some even worry that the sanctions planned to inhibit and weaken Putin could end up emboldening and strengthening him. Remember Iran, anyone? But many countries like Europe must now find ways to minimize their dependency on Russian energy. The string of economic denunciation is significantly diminished, so long as countries need carve-outs to ensure the lights stay on and citizens are warm in winter. What will this mean for Russia if its conflict with Ukraine drags on for months or years to come? Of course, we can comprehend several scenarios, all of which would further pose nasty challenges for Russia, and some of which could be quite concerning for America and its allies as well. Do you think Russia will lose this economic war? Or do you think it can resist? Let me know in the comments. And if you learned something new from this, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see our new videos. I make deep dives like this every week where I uncover the secrets of money and business.